Hey everyone, Georgie here with Ukraine Matters. We have some interesting and positive news coming from Ukraine. We're going to do a full map update later this week, but right now I want to focus on a couple of events that are definitely worth noting. The first one is some people noted that this is the Kursk region, the blue one, that Ukrainians are holding inside of territory of Russia. And then you see this red dot where Russians entered the territory of Ukraine. Well, the thing is that as they entered that territory, they actually got exited from that territory very, very rapidly. The Special Operation Forces of Ukraine has promptly ejected Russians from that territory and also took some captives from that area. They've set up a trap and Russians fell straight to it. The video is again graphic, I cannot show you, but the video will be on Discord, so check the links in the video description below. Beyond that, another interesting thing that is worth noting before we kind of go further is that around Pokrovsk area, some of the Russian forward groups already entered towards the outer outskirts of Pokrovsk, but Ukrainians since then lately counterattacked and actually pushed Russians a little bit back. It's not a lot, but it's just interesting to know and interesting to see that Ukrainians are indeed falling back. The best if you can say so, situation right now for Ukrainians is around the Kursk area. And I know it is very tough there. I know the fighting is very hard. We all recognize that. But Russians are really having not a very good time there. Russians already basically are sending the North Koreans because they were having significant losses. And North Koreans, it's very clear that Russians were having troubles communicating to them how to fight this war, how to fight in current situation, like how they should act and how to coordinate. So instead, they've left a lot of them untrained, and a lot of them essentially left with being and understanding this war for themselves. There has plenty of videos in the last couple of days about how these North Koreans have been dismantled. But most important of this is that now supposedly they've been also pulled back, because as they were approaching, as you can see on this image right over here, they were not really prepared for any kind of a specific offensive. They just walk through the field. Yes, they were able to push just because of their mass, some small portions like some positions, but they also sustained massive losses, much larger ones than the Russians, thankfully because to the cluster munitions and Ukrainian drone operators. And it's especially clear in this video right here. This video is not graphic, so I can actually show you. So this video is from the Ukrainian strike drone recorded. And as you can see, the North Koreans, they're completely oblivious to what this drone is. They don't have this survival instinct from the Russians that you would see that Russians are trying instantly run away, hide, try to shoot it down. These guys are just like, what is this? What is this flying above our heads? They still don't have the understanding. Now we must understand that Russians also started like this. They will learn in time, so it's not always going to be like this. But thankfully for now, while having certain number of forces, they are not a very capable battle force, and that is good. Then going to some political news that are relevant for Ukraine. The first one is about Chancellor Scholz. It's not a super big news because it was very expected that he will lose the no confidence vote, and he indeed lost the no confidence vote. So now the new election of the new parliament will be coming on the 23rd of February next year. And we're hoping that the opposition party leader, Friedrich Merz, will come to be the new chancellor of Germany. People tend to be very careful about what to expect from Merz. He's not like a full-blown Ukraine supporter, like he's definitely made a lot of statements, but people state that you should definitely take with a grain of salt when he's making a lot of statements. So in all, I think Scholz has proven himself to be very, very problematic chancellor for Ukraine, and at least Friedrich Merz coming in as a new guy will potentially have some new opportunities to see what his position can be on Ukraine, and I would take this news positively. In the meantime, I want to say sorry, guys, if I look or sound really weird because I am still very sick, but the work never ends because the work never ends for the people in Ukraine. And we're just going to continue because there are a couple of countries that I always need to put recognition for, and one of those is definitely Finland. I wish more countries in Europe would be like Finland. Finland is accelerating preparedness for wars, for war in all forms. They are doing additional training, they're doing additional investments. So we need to be more like Finland, and I hope this will be a role model for us going forward. Then there's been a statement from the Slovak president about Ukraine potentially ceding territory to Russia. And I'm sorry if this is something you already heard. Like, I'm preaching to a choir here, but it's extremely important to repeat these messages again and again and again. And I hope you will be repeating these messages again and again and again, because we see the twisting of the narrative, right? As Zelensky stated in the interview, that he is like, it would be a possibility if Ukraine, the whole of Ukraine, including the occupied territory, is invited to join NATO, is becoming a member of alliance of NATO, and security guarantees of NATO are extended then to Ukraine, then it would be a good basis to cease fire and start diplomatic return of the occupied territories to Ukraine. Unfortunately, Zelensky's words have been taken out of the context, has been twisted by the false premises, by the stupid journalists, by the shill media, and so on. And now it's kind of like people are defaulting back to the pro-Russian talking points, and instead of like saying that NATO participation of Ukraine is going to be like a starting point for a kind of ceasefire and some kind of diplomatic track, instead everyone is saying is like, well, Ukraine just needs to say no to joining NATO, and they will need to give certain territories to Russia. That is not what Ukraine is proposing. That is not something that Zelensky said, because people are confusing these two, and we must always repeat that no, Zelensky said that no one has offered him to join NATO, therefore there is no approach to a diplomatic track. There's only two things that can guarantee security for Ukraine. It's either NATO participation or nuclear weapons, and neither one or other right now are on the table. Therefore, Ukraine has no business even starting considering some kind of a negotiated solution. All right, the final couple of things. European Union is looking to build essentially their own Starlink. We will see if this will work, but it's definitely great that we're trying to match this technology. It's a pity that it's all completely in the Elon Musk's hands, and we definitely need an alternative. So great news on that. Then there is another narrative from the Russian propaganda that appeared recently. So Russian propaganda has been using AI extensively. And this case specifically talks about some famous Ukrainian journalist saying that the newly formed brigade that Ukraine has trained in France, after they came to Ukraine, they basically all run away from the frontline brigade, like which is like just about 2,000 people. They're writing in their propaganda narratives that it was about 1,500 people that went AWOL from the front lines, which was a complete propaganda narrative, but it was also presented with a good AI technology. Like it was actually quite impressive, the ability to which they were able to mimic that famous Ukrainian journalist. So it's something to know. And more importantly, this again, all of the Ukraine has a lot of people going AWOL again is leading us all to the Russian propaganda. They are pushing these narratives, so please be aware of this and be always critical about such a news and always double check everything. And I want to finish on an interesting note, because we found out, and some of Ukrainians have found out, that Russians are getting essentially a guide on how to improve themselves. As you know, when Russians sometimes end up on a front line and a battlefield, and they don't see how they could get out because Russians are not really saving their own, they are choosing oftentimes to essentially finish the job themselves. And there is actually a whole guide, and this is like a pure gold. Like everything that is written in this guide, it shows like that you need to either, like if you're using a shooting like a rifle, then you can aim for a temple, or you can aim under your chin, or you can aim into the center of your forehead, and that's the best one. So it's like importance. It's important to keep calm and confidently press the trigger once you're doing this. It's like, so like keep calm and do the job for Ukrainians. And then the second part here is like how to do this with grenade. So either they say like put grenade towards your chest or put it under the chin, and then it will go. And it ends with a statement like, remember, you're the fighter of the great Russia. Your dignity is in your commitment to the end, so to say. Yes, so it's great to see that Russians are more and more industrializing the process of improvement, even themselves. Please do more of that. It would be nice if Russians would start improving themselves even before they step their foot into Ukraine. We're gonna finish it off, guys. Please support the Ukrainian Armed Forces fundraiser for the unmanned drone systems that we're doing. I want us all to do more. This is our Christmas fundraiser. Please, if you have 1, 2, 3 euros, maybe 5 euros to spend, please participate. You can enter your own custom amount here. Join up. Everything matters. I love you guys. Slava Ukraini, and I'll see you next time.
Доброго дня. Ми рота вогневої підтримки 27-го полку Національної гвардії України. Знаходимося на північному напрямку нашої країни. Потребуємо вашої допомоги для збору на авто для виконання бойових завдань на півночі нашої країни. Також звертаємося до команди Бандера Мобіль, Car for Ukraine та Джорджі з Ukraine Matters. Дуже будемо вдячні за вашу допомогу.